Welcome back to another video of leveling up with Docker. In the last video, you learned how to pull images, run containers and access them. At the end, I gave you an exercise. We run a Redis container, set a key, stop it, start it again, and check if the data was still there. If you tried it, the data was actually gone. Now that's not a bug. That's how containers are designed. They are ephemeral. They are disposable. When a container is removed, everything inside it goes with it. That's fine for stateless containers, but some containers do need to keep the data around. Containers that have like databases, uploaded files, logs, config files, we generally want to keep all of them intact. So today, we'll fix that. We are going to talk about Docker volumes, the way you keep the data alive even when the containers comes and go. Remember that Redis exercise? Let's fix that now. We are going to use a name volume. Now with the name volume, Docker creates and manages a storage area on your host. You just need to give it a name and the Docker will handle the rest. Let's run Redis with 1. Docker run -d rm name dt redis as usual. I'm going to give the volume name as Redis data :/data followed by Redis. Right, the -rm means the container removes itself when stopped. The -v flag is basically stating where is the volume name and the data. Right, this is actually the volume name, and the /data with where the Redis will store its data inside the containers. Let's run this. Now you still remember we can go inside here, dt redis CLI. Right. Now that we're inside, let's set the key. I'm going to set my name as David Teo. I'm going to set age as 18. Right. So we're going to exit. I'm going to do the same thing as last time. I'm going to stop the container. Now because of the -rm above, the container is gone. Now let's start a brand new container again. So I'm going to make sure I use the same one. I'm going to change the name to dt redis 2 to make sure it's like totally different containers, right? But I'm going to use the same volume, right? So this is the volume name. Let's start it. And I'm going to go inside again. Redis 2 now. Get name. Both of them are around, right? In fact, we can do one more thing. Config get max memory. Right. So basically you'll see that the max memory is 0. Doesn't mean that they don't allow any memory at all. It just means that there is no limit. So that is the default when we don't have any config file. Right. Let's do one more thing. Right. I'm going to show you the version number. dt redis 2 Redis server version. So they are currently running a version 8.6.1, right? And with all this optimization flag. Okay, let me show you one more thing, right? So we can actually see what is inside the containers by using docker inspect. So you can do docker inspect dt redis 2. Oops. Docker. Oh, okay. No, that is correct, right? Docker ps -a inspect dt redis 2. Did I do typo there? Okay. Right, it's too fast. Let's do a less so I can scroll up and down. So basically you can see the details of the containers here. The one that we'll be interested in is basically our mount volume. So let me search for mount. Right, so you can see here that we are mounting a volume called Redis data. The actual data itself residing inside here. Right, and the destination we are going to mount is basically slash data here. Right, so yeah, this basically tells you everything that you need to know about containers that you're running. That is what Docker is managing for you. A real directory on your machine connected to the path inside the containers. Now you can also list your volume here, volume ls. So now we have a local volume or Redis data. Right. Now, name volumes are great when the Docker should own the storage. But here's something important to understand about containers. A container has a full file system, just like a Linux machine, and you can mount into any path inside the file system, not just dedicated data directories. Any path. A bind volumes lets you do exactly that. You point to a directory or file on your host, and it replaces whatever was at the path inside the containers. Let's start with a simple example. The Nginx serves files from /usr/share/nginx html by default. We are going to replace that with our own directory. How do we do that? I'm going to make something called data. Let's call it dt nginx. Right. Okay, because data doesn't exist, I usually use -p. This will create data and dt nginx at the same time. Right, and inside here I'm going to create my HTML file. Let's call it index.html. Right, I'm going to do something that is just real simple. Head, title, docker dt nginx, title. Let's do a close the head here, start the body, h1, hello from dt nginx, h1, body, okay, that's done. We have our HTML. Now I'm going to run Nginx with a bind mount. So we can do docker run -d rm again -v. Now instead of giving them the volume name, I'm going to give the exact path. So this will be in data dt nginx. We can actually say I'm going to replace this two. Okay, I'm going to mount it to the usr share nginx html. Right. Okay, this looks good. Okay, so as usual, I put the name dt nginx. Then I call the container name. Right, it started. Right. So now I can do the docker exec dt nginx. Let's do a curl localhost. Right, as you can see, they actually show me the HTML file here. Right. Now let's change a bit. Right, so data dt nginx index.html. I'm going to put dt nginx. Oops, where's my editing? Insert leveling docker from leveling docker tutorial. Right, So it's slightly different, and we do a curl again. You see that everything changed instantly, right? We don't even need to do any container restart at all. So let's try to inspect this one. The same thing. So we'll do docker inspect, okay, followed by dt nginx. Okay, don't forget the less, so we can actually scroll up and down. So we'll search for the mounts again. Notice that the type now is a bind, right? So instead of they give you, the Docker create the source for you, you create the source yourself, right? So we have this home sysadmin data nginx, right? The destination, this is the place that we replace, right? And that's it. Right. And remember, you are not actually limited to /data or HTML directories. You can literally mount into any path. A config file even, a log directory, a socket. Whatever path you give the containers, you can take control of it from the host. So how do you know when to use name volumes or when to use a bind? Right. Usually, most of the time, if you think you don't care about the container, the volume at all, you want the Docker to totally manage it, you can just use name volumes. But if you want to have a further control, you want to do your own directory permission and all that, right, you can actually use a bind mount. Okay, so let's get out of this. Docker ps -a. I'm going to stop dt redis 2. That's my stop. Okay, I'm going to stop my dt nginx as well. All clean, right? So that's exactly what we are going to do in the exercise. We are going to mount a Redis config file directly into a container and tell the Redis to do it. Alright, now it's your turn. Here's your challenge. We are going to do something really cool. We will configure Redis and we are going to upgrade it without losing any data. There will be two parts of the exercise. So here we go. Part 1, we are going to configure Redis with a custom config. We are going to create a Redis configuration file on your host and we are going to add a setting, right? Max memory 100 MB. After that, I'm going to run a Redis 8.4 with both volumes, right? So we are going to use the Redis data and we are going to mount our Redis conf to the etc/redis/redis.conf. Now you can actually pass multiple -v flag. Right? So another thing that you need to know is that Redis need to be told where to load the config. So you can check the https docker hub/redis to actually see what is the command that you need to use. Right? And we are going to name this dt redis 84. Right? After that, we are going to set a key inside the Redis. Right? Then we are going to check the Redis version and we are going to verify the config is actually applied. You can pause the video here and work on the first part. I'll show you part 2 when you are ready to continue. Okay, this is the part 2. We are going to upgrade the Redis without losing any data at all. So we are going to stop the containers. We are going to start a new one using Redis 8.6 and we are going to use the same volumes. So Redis actually skipped 8.5, so they went straight to 8.6. So the next one we'll use is basically version 8.6. Right, we are going to name this Redis 86. And we are going to try to check if our keys survive. Right, then I'm going to check the Redis version and we are going to get the config, right, to check the max memory that we configure. So pause now and give it a go. Welcome back. Let's walk through the whole exercise together. So I'm going to create the config file. Okay, so let's do a vi redis.conf max memory 100 MB. Okay, so I'm going to do docker run -d -rm name dt redis 84 -v. Okay, so let's put the data instead, because just now I don't remember whether I cleared the Redis data. So let's just create a rd data maybe. Then I'm going to mount another one -v dot redis dot conf etc redis dot conf followed by Redis 8.4 Redis server etc redis.conf. Okay, they are not able to find 8.4. It's going to pull. Yep, now we are done. So we can check the version here. Docker exec dt redis 84 redis server version. Let's see. Yep, we have the Redis server 8.4.2 here. We're going to set a key docker exec it dt redis 84 redis cli set name, repeat again, exit. Oh yeah, another thing, before I exit, let's do a config get max memory. Right, you see that the configuration file is actually applied. Okay, so you can exit here. Right, so docker stop dt redis 84 docker ps -a is all gone. Docker volume ls. Yeah, I have rd data here. Okay, now let's start a new one. So instead of 84, we are going to use 86 here and 86 here. Okay, everything else remains the same. Okay, so I'm going to do the docker exec 86. Then I'm checking the version. You can see that now the version is updated to 8.6.2. That's great, so the upgrade is done. But we still have our config. Let's take a look. Redis 86. Right. Get name. Yeah, everything is still here. The version is upgraded. That's fantastic. Let's see whether the config is actually kept. Right. Config get max memory. All good. So things get upgraded, config get maintained, data is still around. So let's stop it. Docker stop dt redis 86 docker psa. We have nothing. So that's it for our video. If this helps, hit like and subscribe. If you got any question, drop them in the comment. I'll try to read everyone and try to reply to it. In the next video, we'll manage environment. We'll look at the images, logs, environment variables, And yeah, we are going to clean up all the volumes that we just left behind. It is not the flashiest topic, it might be a bit dry, but this is what separates someone who just runs containers from someone who actually knows about what they are doing. So I'll see you there. Bye bye.